Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
We're standing in front of another stabbing that took place in Brooklyn. Today's date, early in the morning, people just coming outside from their homes and they're headed to school. I ran into this young man here today and we was talking about the ongoing violence in our community, especially in Crown Heights. Crown Heights, Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, Fort Greene. The crime rate is getting outrageous. It's steadily growing and developing. So we're asking the civilians in our community, how can we address crime in our community? How do we stop the violence in our community? And if you look closely, this is right by our school. The stabbing started here, and apparently it ended up in the park over here, across the street.
My name is Carlton.
Carlton? Oh, let me get you in the light. Move over a little bit, Carlton. I'm gonna get you in the light. Go ahead. Now, what you say about, how do you think we should end the violence in the community?
By ending the violence in the community, whereby mostly the kids are involved, I think the discipline of the children is supposed to begin at home, whereby parents see his or her child growing up in disciplinary and need to be disciplined, be able to discipline them at home. The right should be taken away from there, and I think that will contribute to.
So Carlton basically saying discipline starts at home. Unfortunately, the state has taken the discipline from the parents because now children are just out of control. We need to reinstall discipline in the home, correct?
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Giving the parents the ability to discipline their child so that their child don't act out in the public. You do realize that there's also a criminal case being held this morning where a young man stabbed another kid for bullying, ironically. And that case is going to court. And we're going to go to that right now. This is Hakeem Abdul-Adel for the Objective Opinion, one to grow on. Restore discipline in the home so that we may actually deal with the violence in the streets with our kids. Peace.
Your Honor, this case is in the E-panel that ends on July 3rd and does not know when this is. Will the defendant testify?
Yes, he will testify. I believe we have talked and we are going to waive 180 till Monday, the 30th of June.
People are serving oral when I'm taking notice for that date at 10 a.m.
I will adjourn this matter back here in Part FB on 6/30. Grand jury action. The order of protection is extended and remand. Oh, there is no order of protection. And remand is continued.
Judge, may we hold the card, please, once it comes up, if it comes up? Thank you very much.
My name is Eric, E-R-I-C, last name P-O-U-L-O-S, Deborah Rush, R-U-S-H, co-counsel.
If you could explain what happened today, why the decision was made that was made?
The decision was to put this off a couple of days while we do our investigation. Everything's happening very quickly. We want to do it right and do it with plenty of time to do the right job, to do the right thing for the law. You know, our feeling is that the Board of Ed failed, the cops failed, they wouldn't come to the house, they wouldn't transfer them from the school. Legal aid was not a good failure. In fact, that's why this whole unit has been brought in, which Ms. Rush is part of. So the entire adolescent unit is getting involved in this case. We're throwing every resource we have.
Now, will you invite him to testify?
As I say, we're investigating. There are a lot of witnesses, a lot of people. One of them is Noel.
Now, you will have him testify. What you wanted to say and discuss.
If Noel ever testifies, it's one thing to say the truth. It's not
Bullying the background. What about his background? Regarding his background?
Well, that's all. I mean, you guys have already reported on that. I mean, this point now, we're investigating. We're doing what nobody else did, and we're doing that, and we'll present it. And hopefully, it'll have a positive result. If it doesn't have a positive result this early in the case, we'll keep fighting it out till we're vindicated.
You say you want Noel to tell the truth. What is the truth?
June 30th, we're coming back here.
What about the decision? What time does it go?
That the DA made that decision. I mean, you're asking the wrong person.
Well, what do you think of it?
You know, what can I think of it?
What is Noel's? How is Noel now?
He's you know, he's going through an ordeal. He's been through an ordeal for the last 4 or 5 months, and this is compounding it. But I think at that point, that's a good point to end this. I'm sure we'll see you again. We're investigating. Once we know more, you'll find out.
What's happening on June 30th?
coming back here
For another hearing or?
for the same thing.
Ms. Rush, can you discuss the child services issue? Mr. Poulos, can you discuss that? Why are they involved? Why is her office involved? Or is that part of
It's
you?
all one office.
Talk about it. What do they do? What do you do?
We're the Adolescent Intervention and Diversion Unit in the City of New York for Legal Aid Society. We have a unit in each borough, and we focus on the 14 to 15-year-olds who are charged with serious violence.
And why is he charged as an adult?
That was a district attorney decision. You can go ahead and make that attorney. Thank you.
Do you feel like you had a choice?
It was self-defense. That's all it was.
What?
Self-defense. Simple as that. Self-defense.
Self-defense?
Go back.
What was his story? What's the truth?
That's the truth.
What's his state of mind now? What you think?
Sufficient revenue to meet their operating expenses, and I shared this bill with my colleague whose proposal has been submitted by the owners. It is important that owners receive enough to meet operating expenses. It is important that owners receive a fair rate of return, and we must consider data concerning potential increase to owner costs.
Why?
Yes, you have to.
However, again, we can't look at this information in a vacuum. According to the 2014 income and expense study, owners' costs rose 3.2%. That same report shows a rise in income of 5.3%, resulting in that net operating income of 9.6%.
Which goes to
In
pay off
addition, interest rates are low and finance continues to be available. It is true that certain costs, such as taxes, have increased. That is true, and the owners have emphasized this. But those costs are reflected in the operating expenses, and they therefore don't alter their analysis. At bottom, I don't support the proposal on the table. I think it is a good faith proposal. I think the numbers, again, are historic low. It is not the goal of this board to undermine the ability of owners to operate their buildings, but it is the goal of this board to ensure that the interests of tenants and owners are balanced, and I don't believe that this proposal does that.
On a salary, a monthly income of $1,058. I think we should put that point up because it's part of the conversation. As much as they try to ignore it, tenants' play is just as important in this conversation. I think the conversation about 50,000 families in shelters every day is just They're asking for 1% and 2%, but they get SCI.
Shame on them! Shame on them!
About the plight of who is in hardship in this city, if these tenants out here.
That's right! That's right! That's right! Yes! Yes! Tell them, Taylor! Tell them the facts! Because they're lying to the people! They've been reaping profit for 40 years! They've been burning women! They're burning women down! They're burning city down! Do the right thing! Steve! 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 Do the right thing! Okay!
Guys, as my fellow board members know, I take my role on this board very literally. And I take our mandate very literally. I always approach this from an apolitical position. And I have fought doggedly to have fair representation, and this is much to, and I've taken it on
on the chin for this. I believe that there is a balance of the owner and the tenant.
No, it's not.
The lack of clarity around the numbers, which, by the way, when I took this role, what was told to me is not a political agenda, which I believe right now we're talking purely from a very literal interpretation of the mandate that we have, and that is why I was the one who voted for the 0 to 3 at the preliminary, because I believe that in that range was exactly where the correct balance was. I disagree with my...
No on this proposal because we need a rent freeze now.
The disingenuous and in fact possibly duplicitous way some of my colleagues manipulated this vote. I have to vote my conscience. And I have to say, this moment is a nightmare. On this board, I've had intense pressure from both the right and from the left. So some of it dirty, some of it principled. And again, I had to vote my conscience. This is my proposal. I apologize, and I vote in favor of the motion.
It's not a fair housing market. So I'm gonna vote a no on that.
Sheila, you're the bomb!
Yes.
Sarah Williams Willard.
Yes.
How is that fair? As the chair, I vote no, but the proposal passes by a 5-4 vote.
done for the objective opinion. And once again, you have seen the rent increase continue to rise in the city of New York. And as you can see behind me, the crowd is pretty upset about the end result behind this voting thing. So my question to the community is, why are we always going to these people about rent increases? Let's be more precise. Why don't we just shut down all the city altogether? It's real simple. I mean, you got to pay the rent and they need the rent paid. So why don't you just start taking your money, put it in a collective pot, and then benefit yourself in the long run? Rent increase, the rent is going to continue to rise. We're going to continue to be moved out while they come in and live on what we provide. So let's stop feeding them. You ain't got to answer for nothing. The answers already told you what to do. So why are you not doing it? I don't know. But in the outskirts of the whole scenario, you need to understand one thing. You provide for them. They don't provide for you. Don't believe me? Stop feeding them. They eat off of you. But at this present time, they have came to the conclusion that they don't need to eat off of us no more. They really just need to remove us. So what we need to do to better ourselves is worry about our development and growth in our own community and stop feeding the sharks within our community. This is Hakeem Abdul for Objective Opinion. One to grow on. There's many more tapes coming out. Pay attention, as I'm always on the scene. Oh, Jamani Williams was also here too. Shout out to Jamani. Peace.
And in 2013, he took on the challenge of running for district attorney. He had the simple goal of bringing fundamental fairness to all of Brooklyn, and he won. And January 1st of this year, he took office, and he became the first African-American district attorney in Brooklyn. And I would like to introduce our DA, Kenneth Thompson.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I want to thank you for coming out to this town hall meeting. You know, when I ran for district attorney last year, I came here to Brownsville. I knocked on a number of doors. I met and talked with a bunch of people, and I explained why I was running for Brooklyn DA. And because of many of you, I'm now back in Brownsville as the DA, and I took office on January 1st. Now, Brownsville is a community that is very important to me, and it is important to all the people who work with me, and that's why I brought my entire executive team out here tonight. Now, we want to talk with you about what we do. We also want to hear about your concerns, because ultimately we hope that this town hall meeting is the first step towards building a strong relationship between my office and the people of Brownsville. Now, as Brooklyn DA, my obligation is to keep each and every one of you safe, but it is also my duty to make sure that the criminal justice system here in Brooklyn is fair towards everyone. And so we are concerned about the shootings and violence occurring here in Brownsville and throughout Brooklyn. So far this year, there have been 34 shootings here in Brownsville, 6 homicides. Where I live in Brooklyn, there have been several shootings and homicides in my neighborhood as well. Just 2 weeks ago, a 16-year-old boy was shot in broad daylight and killed just blocks from where I live. And so we have got to end these shootings. And most prosecutors around the country, they solely react to shootings after they occur. We in the Brooklyn DA's office feel that we have to do more than just react to shootings. We have to prevent them from occurring in the first place. And so we've created a new unit, we call it the Crime Strategies Unit, which is to help us prevent violence here in Brownsville and throughout the borough. We are not only determined to keep you safe, But I said earlier that we have to make sure that our criminal justice system is based on fundamental fairness. And so what we began to do is we began to review a number of cases in which people maintained that they were wrongfully convicted for murders that they did not commit. And so in just 6 short months of this new administration, we have reviewed a bunch of those cases, and we vacated the convictions of 7 men who we believe were wrongfully convicted and should not have been convicted. The people who are helping me do this important work are sitting right before you. And so let me just introduce each and every one of them, because when I ran for DA and when I came to Brownsville, I told the people of Brownsville, and I said in other parts of Brooklyn, that I'm going to hold a town hall meeting. And my first meeting, town hall meeting, was going to be in Brownsville, because Brownsville matters. It matters to me as your new DA. It matters to my executive team. That's why we're here tonight. I am truly honored that Renee Gregory has agreed to be my first assistant. Now, Renee, can you just please stand? Renee Gregory is an exceptional prosecutor. She's a former teacher, former educator. She lives in the community. She's been in the DA's office for about 16 years, and I asked her to help me run the DA's office. And so she is my first assistant in the office. So she's one of the most powerful people in the DA's office. So let me just give you a couple of stats. I won't bore you. There are over 500 prosecutors in the Brooklyn DA's office. And Renee is one of the most important ones. Thank you. Next to Renee is Mark Feldman. Mark, can you stand?
Let's talk family talk time. It's family talk time. Because you traveled a long way, and I want you, first time I want to commend you for coming up here, because what you're doing is so important. That you're actually representing the folks that couldn't be here.
Right.
Because so I don't take what you're doing lightly. It's very important. I mean, there's so many people that need to be here but can't be here. So you're actually the voices that get into our ears and make it relevant. So I thank you for coming and traveling so far. When it comes to monies in this business, in order to have an effective campaign, it costs. I mean, just for the lit that you guys put together, this stuff costs. It's not free. I mean, we throw it around as if it's free, but this paper costs.
Right.
And to get your message out to different individuals that don't even know your name, you know, it costs. And whether you're going to do it by the airways, whether you're going to do it through social media, whether you're going to do it through literature, it costs money.
But that could be financed by the public.
That's true.
And that's what we believe in.
And let me get to that point there. The thing I like about that is that I'm not beholden to you when it's publicly financed. Because, I mean, you'd be surprised. We'll have a fundraiser. Somebody gives us a $10 check. Now they think they owe us for 40 quarters. See, your contribution helps finance us so that the message that we collectively want to put together becomes policy.
Right.
So we support that. But I don't want you to think for 1 minute because you gave me $100,000 or $5,000 that we can't speak freely and think freely. And what public financing allows you to do is to think freely without having any beholden obligations.
Absolutely.
So we definitely support this initiative there, and it's actually starting to take on. Now, the pushback that we've been hearing is that the Republicans have devised a plan that says, or their campaign says that, I don't want to support a candidate down in New York City that I know nothing about. Why is my money being used for that? So those are the arguments that you're hearing there, out there now. I don't know that guy in Brooklyn. And you're spending my money in Brooklyn to help this Democrat, you know, that's the pushback that's out there now. So again.
That same money is going to be supporting somebody that they want to
Yeah, but you know, right? But let's, devil's advocate over here, it does rationally make sense when you think about it. It does at some point, because again, in these communities, cause I again, born and raised Bed-Stuy, PS 309, 35, you know, I'm straight hood, straight street. But now I live up here, and I know that in order for us to raise monies in the local municipalities up here, they raise my taxes for my property taxes. And so it hurts You know, just to keep a basketball team, I gotta pay an extra $50 in my property taxes. So it's not like down in the city, you know, where your landlord pays. No, we gotta pay.
Well, they're part of the problem too.
Right. That's a whole nother conversation.
That is.
Yeah, but, so it's a different, so I've seen both sides. So again, we definitely support the initiative of having public monies to offset, because it cuts down the corruption. It does. Because I'm not beholden to you now. You know, I don't, you know, even though you say, well, you still have to be thinking freely, if I see you in my face every freaking day, asking me the same thing, you gonna do it today? You gonna do it today? All right, do it!
Payback.
You know, like, all right, get it over with. You know, it's like I'm walking out the door, I gotta be looking both ways. Are you gonna be standing upside of the door lobbying again? So we get it. I like the idea. And so, please.
Black. The men's panel. The men's panel.